Welcome to the Casual Adventure Notes podcast, the CAN podcast, lazy, easy listening about little life's adventures.
And lessons.
I'm Doz.
I'm Devy.
Let's kick things up with a palate cleanser.
Yeah. All right. We are back onto all things culinary with 101 things I learned in culinary school. Do you want to pick a number?
Number 7.
7.
Have we done it before?
Not sure actually, but I'll read it out and then you tell me. So it's a quote from Anthony Bourdain. The universe is in order when your station is set up the way you like it. You know where to find everything with your eyes closed, everything you need during the course of the shift at the ready at arm's reach. Your defenses are deployed. That's it.
I think we have heard that one, but it's fine because it's a really nice segue into the main course today. I have a story. I have a few stories actually.
Well, that makes sense to you, firstly.
Yes, it's basically like in summary, if you're organized, then you're ready to go when you need to.
Yeah. Okay. Very good.
Is that not right?
Well, it is. Just wanted to explain it to our just in case.
Oh my God. I saw the funniest thing. I was watching a YouTube videos and it was a challenge between these people who were traveling to a foreign country and then the challenge was to navigate everywhere without a map. So they would only be able to ask for help from locals or people. And they speak English. And then along the trip, they're like, oh, we struggled. So they found someone who could speak English. And then the person who was giving help was like the funniest thing because they gave him instructions. And then they're like, do you understand? And then the people in the video are like, yeah. And he's like, okay, say it back. To make sure that he understood it. And honestly, I think that's such a good thing to do to make sure that people truly comprehend it. Because how many times in your life do you have a conversation with someone, whether you be the one consuming the information or giving it, and then sometimes it just gets to a point where everyone just nods and pretends they understand, but they might not necessarily.
Yeah, one, because they're embarrassed that they don't actually understand it. And second, they do understand it, but then they forget.
Yeah.
Particularly with directions. Directions are hard because I think for me, if you've got more than 3 steps, like go straight, turn left, turn, when you hit this, turn right, go up, thing, pretty much lost me. And I don't really bother asking, and then I try to figure it out myself. That obviously is a bit more challenging. A scale of what was it, traveling around?
Yeah, they're just in a foreign country. The video is by 2 very, very popular streamers, influencers called Ludwig and Michael Reeves. It's called Tip to Tip, where they travel from the bottom of Japan to the top of Japan using their motorcycle, not allowed to use expressways and no maps. It's a good watch. It's people keep calling it it's a YouTube video, a series on YouTube, and people keep referring it to OG YouTube videos, just very authentic, wholesome content that isn't too day to day, but it's still day in the life, but with content. I don't know, but it is. I kind of get it. I don't know, not every OG YouTube content was like that, but it does give you that feeling, because I think a lot of big popular YouTube videos these days, the algorithm rewards over the top, over dramatization, well produced stuff. Those type of videos do really well. And whilst they're still vlogs and other things online, they don't do as well as those big clickbait type videos.
Oh yeah, I remember. I swear. People used to hold the camera in front, be all jiggly and wobbly in the recording. Although that's actually very particular movies, like first-hand experience movies, where it's like we found this camcorder, now we're playing it. It's been edited. It's like mostly like horror films where it's like we discovered this footage of these kids that went lost.
Yeah.
I always find that like a bit of a issue to watch because I just actually get a bit of a headache because it's like it's super shaky. Obviously, it's authentic because no one has a robotic steel arm and can actually hold us, still the whole time.
Well, there's a lot of rigs for that. So there's like steady cam setups to make sure that it's.
Well, this is back in the day when like those
stabilizers weren't built in to cameras.
It's like those camcorders where you hold them like this.
Yeah,
and
I love them.
And I think it's you open it and there's a cassette or something.
Yeah.
Is it a cassette or VHS or whatever?
Not VHS.
They did have VHS, but that was an even bigger camcorder.
Oh, was it? Oh, I don't know.
On your shoulder. And then there's one where it's like a handheld one. That one might be like a smaller cassette, but I don't know how then they moved that into VHS or CD. Maybe it was a mini one and then you converted on. Anyway, digressing.
Yes.
So what were you saying before about something before we start talking?
We'll just go straight into the main course. So main course today is a fun story about having setups or knowing where things belong. I don't know if this is a shared experience, but this last experience kind of suggests it is, which is most people organize their kitchens in a very similar way. So what happened was we had friends over, and I actually don't remember the full context. I think like someone spilled something or I was in the middle of doing something. So this is in our kitchen. And I couldn't pause to like grab something, like someone needed like a paper towel, glove, a spoon, whatever it was, right? And then the guest was like, oh, I can get it for you. And they opened the right drawer to get the paper towel. They opened the right drawer to get the spoon. Someone's like, I need scissors. And then they opened the right drawer to get scissors. And I was like, oh, like, how did you know where everything was? Like, this is the first time you've been here. And they're like, oh, my kitchen's set up the same way. So I assumed. And then it happened again because I threw a party and there was multiple guests. And this is the type of party where it's a potluck. So everyone like brought their own food, but a lot of people brought food to like also set up and like complete cooking when they arrived. And all these guests, like half of them had never been to the house before, and they also knew where everything was when they needed to grab stuff. They found the chopping boards, they found the knives, they found the serving plates. I was like, huh? Like everyone was just like self-helping themselves, and they like found all the right things. And I was like, does everyone organize their kitchen at least the same way?
Well, mostly it's just a logic thing. Like the top drawer is generally like your most used thing, which is sometimes utensils, your forks, your knives, your spoons. It's convenient to have it there. It's the thing you open, so you have it at closest range. No one puts anything that's like dish related under the sink. Like that's where all your cleaning. It's just follows like a logic of what is the most practical and most common sense place to put things. I do find like cups tend to have a bit more variability on location. But in most cases, a lot of stuff you can kind of predict where it makes most sense to put something.
What do you mean? Cups always go in the same place. It's like a cupboard that you reach for.
I've seen cups being put in like drawers because again, cups are very commonly used, and particularly for bowl, it sometimes is a bit of a hassle to have cups cupboard. They'll need like a stool. And then there's always a risk of like, breakage and stuff like that. So then I've seen cups that have been put in drawers, like, at like waist level, those drawers, or cupboards bottom. Whereas I guess for us, we have cups. We're both relative, so we can access it without having a stool. And then even similarly with, I find like the fridge arrangements tend to be the most variability can happen. Because I've seen a lot of people who organize it based on like a first in, first out, which is actually with sort of grocery sort of logistics around food that's coming. So they sell more fresher products. And some people organize their fridge by that.
What, like putting the newer stuff up front?
No, first in, first out. So whatever's like, so everything that's the older stuff is like, is at the front, and then stuff's at the back. So then they eat because it's first thing you see.
But do people do that though? Like we do, but I don't know if that's common. I felt like I didn't do that back then, like when I first started living on my own, but I felt like I started it because I realized that I was neglecting old food over time.
Yeah, and I think that's actually, it's actually, well, I say common, I've only seen that person, or actually two other people that I've been to their houses that have done that. Or some people are a bit more like, OCD, where everything is organized by the type of like veggies and meats and cured meats and sauces, drinks and stuff. And I mean, I think there's been this whole probably like thing on TikTok and Instagram around like that whole ASMR, like a restocking, and it's like super organized by categories versus in your sort of FIFO person.
What was that last bit? I think you mumbled.
What did you last hear?
People online have like ASMR content where they're stacking everything.
And that's like super organized. It's like organized by the type of produce or food.
Yeah.
Whereas like with first in, first out, FIFO, that's like organized by whatever product is the oldest appears in the front, and then, everything slowly moves out as you eat the old stuff, which probably makes the most sense. But I guess I understand the aesthetics of having like, all lined up Cokes on the side and, apples and fruits and stuff.
Right. I don't know if I believe those content. Like, how hard would it be to keep it that organized?
Pretty hard. I've only like the only people I've seen it done consistently is like the like Kardashians. When I watch the show and see them super organized. I think they all have like OCD. So and then they also probably have like staff that help. So it's like staff probably just organize it.
The Kardashians aren't exactly everyday people, so I don't know if you can use them as a benchmark of like what.
But a lot of people get influenced with them, like that whole thing around like jars and stacking like cookies in like a very neat manner, and it looks very aesthetic. I think like Chloe fashion popular, like like lining up Oreos in like a row in a jar. I think we have a jar of cookies like that, but it's actually so old. It's like, I reckon it's like over a decade old, and it's just for aesthetics, looks. I would never eat one of those cookies. We should like throw them away. It's at least like, it's probably older than the dogs. At least 10 plus years.
Gross.
But you know that. You know what that cookie
Yes,
thing?
yes.
Yeah.
I don't think it's that common though, but I think you're right. Some people do it.
I did it, but I just do it for the aesthetics, and I don't plan on eating.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. You don't like. I think
they actually eat it, and then they get someone to refill it.
Right.
Every whatever every time it's empty. Yeah.
I don't think that's common. And I was thinking about the kitchen thing, and I was thinking about like every time I visited someone, I think that it is actually like a very similar formula. So like, well, everyone listening can let us know. So in my head, top drawers are always cutlery. Cups are in the top cupboard that you reach for. Under the sink is all the cleaning products.
Mm-hmm.
What else
Under
is
the
there?
stove is always like your pots and pans. Again, because it's convenient, because that's when you need to get something to cook something. It's obviously going to be on the stove.
Yeah. I think the only thing that might vary, and I think it really depends on your kitchen layout, is where you keep your common seasoning and spices and stuff like that to cook with. Because I think like some people have like a drawer next to their stove. Some people have a cupboard above their stove. So I think that varies depending on your actual layout.
I always find that
some people have it on the bench.
Oh, yeah. Bench is, yes, if you don't mind having stuff out. Like sometimes people like a very minimalist looking kitchen, have nothing on there. Some just have stuff stacked to the brim against the stove wall. Yeah, I think that in most cases, that cupboard above the stove, because it got that air ventilator thing which takes up space, that cupboard ends up being like super like.
If there is one, some people just don't have one because it takes up the whole.
Yeah. Because it's like so, it's very narrow, or there's like very little depth. And you can literally, all you can fit is like, a salt, but not even like a big bulk salt thing. It's like the small, such a nice little like cupboard to have. I understand why they just sometimes they decide not to put it there, because they're like, it's so like, besides some like oregano or some flaky, seasoning or something, like can't really fit anything up there. Although I think our one's a little bit more friendly. It's a bit more deeper, so you can actually fit like an olive oil bottle and like a big salt shaker.
Yeah, but that's probably it. Like that's the maximum depth that you can put something in. And it's well designed. I like our kitchen layout a lot, actually.
Sometimes it's like you kind of, like, particularly cupboards like that are like the top cupboards. Like I just find like a bit impractical, where like the top shelves, like you have to like, I guess it's for stuff that you rarely. It's just like a bit of an inconvenience, because sometimes even with like a normal everyday stool or step ladder, like you still can't reach up there. So I'm like, I always find that to be like, like what's the purpose of that one besides, stuff that you rarely, in that case, you might as well just store that stuff in the garage or something that's like not in the kitchen.
Yeah. People keep extra fridges in their garage or other places for different things. So I know some people have a fridge for just drinks that like live in their garage or similar. And I know people who have, more Asians, have like a separate fridge for like frozen food or kimchi and stuff like that. That's also a common thing. If you have a house and space that allows it, like having a second fridge is also like a common thing. And it's always either drinks or frozen food.
Drinks is good. Makes sense, because I feel like esky use is like not as common anymore. So like having a fridge, like a spare fridge, is great, because then it's like for parties. You can just stock it full of drinks. No one wants to drink anything that's room temperature, like, soft drinks and stuff. So that's always convenient. And then, I think it's just bulk buying. Like ever since, Costco became a thing, and the whole sort of, when you buy more, you save more. That second freezer is, again, become really popular. Although I always find like, we started labeling like stuff with frozen and dated. I remember back when didn't, And like sometimes you just like go through your freezer and you're like, what is this? Because can't really work it out because it's so frozen. You can't even make it out. And then you're like, I wonder how old it is. And that's probably why that FIFO system works really well, because you probably, it was a bit more fresh in your memory, and you definitely know it's like not like 2 years old. So actually that's been a really a good tip, is to actually just label stuff, because I get it. You kind of think, oh yeah, I'll be able to recognize it. But there's some meat, once it's frozen for a long time, you're like not even sure what animal this is. Not even, let alone like the type of beast, like, is it chicken? And if it's chicken, is it like a chicken breast, or is it chicken thigh, Anyway.
Exactly.
That's probably another good thing about organizing stuff in the freezer. That's why I don't like the idea of having a second freezer, because then it's just like
You're hoarding.
And then you are likely to, the stuff is just going to like be sitting there for ages, and you might end up having to throw it out at some point. Although, when does food that is frozen reach a point where you should throw it out?
I felt like I read it somewhere once where it depends on the food, and it's always recommended after a certain amount. Like when you bake stuff, like when you read the recipe, they're always like, like keep in the fridge for a week or freeze for a month.
Month?
But
Okay.
I know so many people who will keep it over a month and it's fine. I don't know.
How about a year? I reckon there's stuff that I've eaten that's been frozen for a year.
I had a friend the other day that shared on social that he ate something that was like 2 years old that
And
they
it's fine.
froze. He's still doing fine, so I assume so. It's a bit funny. I didn't do very well in science, so I don't really understand what happens when you freeze food. But then I also don't know where all the rules come from like how long you can freeze things before you should throw it out, et cetera, because like it's food and safety regulations for restaurants where they wouldn't be able to keep things forever, but like domestically, people like do things that don't follow those food safety practices, and they're fine. So I don't know where the lines are, and I don't know what the science is. Like the thing that I do that freaks people out is I leave food out longer than I probably should.
Yeah, you do that.
And then I'll eat it.
And I
and
was
it's fine.
I'm like, should you put that in the fridge? Because I'm like, yeah. So essentially, like bacteria thrives in certain temperatures. If you're the freezer, like obviously when you're freezing food, like nothing can really grow on it, because it's like nothing. If you think about like Antarctica, it's so cold. It's not like there's plants thriving everywhere, because nothing can grow because the climate is so cold. So I'm assuming it's the same logic with the freezer. But yeah, room temperature stuff, that's sort of where things can, like bacteria and germs, kind of, that's like the best environment for their conditioning. So yeah, but at the same time, I've seen those like videos where they're like, I bought this Macca's cheeseburger and they left it out in room temperature for like 5 years. It looks virtually the same. Obviously, you don't eat it, because obviously, just
But this
hearing
is
the
the thing.
fact that it hasn't been like stored and it's been sitting there for years already should enough to tell you. But it looks the same, and I think it's because it's obviously all the preservatives and.
But that's what I mean. If
sugars
someone
and
ate
salt.
it, would they be okay? Technically?
No, there was like, I remember watching like, there was literally these like YouTubers who would eat food, like bomb shelter food, because like during the sort of World War II, people were obviously stockpiling on food because they were, thinking that, when the world comes to an end, all the supermarkets will close and they might have to be stuck in a bunker. So they were eating. So that's when canned food became really popular, because it's obviously long lasting. And then these YouTubers would literally eat food from that time to see, like, one was if the integrity of the food was still there, and it obviously still tasted nice. And a lot of them died.
Wait, the YouTubers died?
Yeah, like from eating like overly expired food.
That's gruesome.
And this is like food that is it's not like fresh produce that's been stored. It's like your preservative like foods like that are very rich in sugar and stuff. Well, actually, I don't know if they died. This is also from TikTok, so unverified.
Stop spreading false information.
But people shouldn't be eating expired food. Obviously, there's a reason they've got an expiry date and, best before dates and stuff. So probably should listen to that. Although I've also heard a lot of people say, best before and expiry dates are like a conspiracy.
Or it's loose. Like, again, it goes back to that safety regulation things.
That they've been sort of bought off from these food companies because they obviously want people to buy more stuff. So by attaching a certain date means that, people have to buy more, all the time. They can't just sort of live off, an item or whatever period of time.
I don't believe the conspiracy of it, like maybe there's an element of companies being greedy. I think there's a level of like regulation that just needs to be baseline. So people have to follow that. And then it just might mean that things are give and take. But yeah, I know that like some things keep longer than what the date would suggest. So something that I do like plant milk. I drink plant milk. Like they say like consume within 7 days, but like normally I can consume it after 7 days and it tastes exactly the same. But then after a certain day, I don't know exactly when, I haven't really recorded it because I'll finish my milk in a reasonable amount of time. It does like go off if I neglect it long enough.
Milk is something that I'm particularly more careful with, like particularly fresh milk. But he's kind of just shuffling around, isn't he? Bumping his head like 20 times. This dog is very like not sort of aware of his surroundings.
Well, audio listener, we have a cavoodle that's sitting on my
he's rested down now.
And he was on my lap before, but he got up because I shuffled to like move my leg because he was putting my leg to sleep. And then the mic pole, he just kept hitting his head. And now he's actually sitting quite awkwardly, like half off the couch. Whatever. I'm a bit worried.
He's just an awkward dog in general.
Yeah.
But anyway, you think some animals have like natural instincts to like protect them, but this one just walks into like walls and repeats the same mistakes all the time.
Yeah.
Sorry, what was it? What were you saying before that?
I drink milk.
Oh yeah, milk is the one thing that I'm very particular with the date. I think like I would drink the milk if only one day after the best before date.
Yeah.
Or no, it's not even best before. I think it's an expiry date. Because I think milk for me is like, I feel like it's the one thing that will probably make you really sick if you drink off.
It tastes and smells bad when it goes off, especially like cow milk and like dairy products in general. I feel like you can tell straight away when that's off.
Yeah, and same with deli meats. Like it just gets more and more slimy.
And smells sour and tastes sour.
But then if it's like that point where it's slimy but doesn't smell yet, and then when you eat it, it doesn't taste off. It's just got a bit more of a wet texture. I think if you then like cook it in the oven, like if it's like ham or something, you just like toast it up and chuck it in the oven or something, then that's like can kind of make it still nice and edible. But then it does reach a point where you're like, I think a great invention would be like some like future device that literally can like scan and smell your food and then just tell you not safe to eat, safe to eat. Yeah. I would buy that.
I would buy that too.
Because then it's like, well, I mean, you obviously like, those expiry best before dates are an estimation. But I want to know like truly like if something has bacteria on it and then if it's still safe to eat even though it's 1 or 2 days off. Maybe that's like an invention that someone can come up with.
Speaking of, the segue makes sense in my head, but I can't explain it out loud. I was watching, so for fun, sometimes I watch camping ASMR videos, which is a side of the internet where you just watch people set up their camping setup, and then once they finish, you watch them enjoy it, cook food, watch nature. I tend to watch like the over-the-top ones. So the tents are massive for just like one or two people. They have all these like gear to cook comfortably. They have like heater. In some over-the-top videos, they even have like screens so they can consume content. And then the only nature part is probably just like the fact that they're outside. But it was really funny because I was watching that and I was showing my friend and I was like, oh yeah, like this is what I watch for fun. I find it really relaxing. And then we saw a recommended video where it's like survive in the Arctic, survive in, you know, where it's cold. And then
Antarctica or Arctic Circle.
I don't know, the snow. And the guy was also camping, and we clicked on that, and we went from one extreme to the other, and he was literally like showing people how to survive in the cold by themselves and what they needed to prioritize. Like he packed some food, but like compared to what the video we were watching earlier, where like, you know, these people pack like all these like ingredients to like do a nice stew. This guy who was like survival mode just picks like Ziploc stuff off like the bare minimum. Like he had hot dogs that he grilled and just like chucked on bread and ate it. He didn't have eggs or anything like that. He had like, you know, just like 2 ingredient things that he would just like quickly spin up over the fire. But it was intense. Like he didn't even have a tent. He had an animal hide to keep warm, and then to block the wind and stuff like that. He prioritized during the day to look for dead trees, cut them down to build like walls and stuff like that to block out the wind and to create a fire that would like last all night. It was crazy to watch. It was very interesting to watch. But the funniest thing is like I realized how different my friend and I are, because first of all, like the camping videos I introduced her to were so high end, and then she's like, "Oh, watch this recommended video," which is what she would prefer, which is just about survival. But then I was watching the video, and then he was like stacking up the branches, and then he goes, "Oh, so to like completely block out the wind, you want to stack the branches," and then he put a bunch of like dead leaves and stuff over the top, and he's like, "Okay," and then when it snows, then it will like fully like block the wind. And then I was so confused because I was like, but snow is so soft and it's water. Like, how will it block the wind? And then my friend, who has much more practical brain than mine and definitely did pass science in school, was like, think about it. Igloos, and they're made completely of ice. They block wind. And I was like, oh my God, you're so smart.
Yeah. Oh, I see. It kind of sounds like that guy with Bear Grylls, the one.
It's very that energy.
Go
it's
in
not
the wild.
him.
It's like
minimalist
equipment and just surviving. Sure. My style of going out in the wild. Surely prefer glamping for the situation. But, you know, that's all nice. You know, I wish I actually did more Boy Scout stuff, like how to make fire from scratch, or, you know, even at least identifying things that are like edible in nature versus poisonous. Like that would be a good skill. But I mean, it's a good, very niche skill. Because like in that day and age, we're very unlikely to be in a situation where we have some zombie apocalypse and overtakes. Yeah, it's not going to be in any sort of Walking Dead, Alice in Borderland situation where we like won't have supermarkets and people there to, you know, supply everything we need and identify what's good and what's not.
Yeah, it's not my personal preference, but I kind of understand the appeal of like being able to just like know you can survive, and the sense of like accomplishment you would have to go somewhere and like live through that. Like I find like that sense of achievement afterwards is probably the high that people chase and why they like camping to that extreme. But yeah, personally, I probably wouldn't gravitate towards it. But I understand the appeal. Like, I think if I was capable of it, I think I would also find it rewarding.
Not an essential skill because there will be very little sort of chance of you having to use it. But I think it's just a cool ability to have, you know, being like, you know, being able to navigate without a compass, for example.
There's a level of like reliability those people have though that's quite like admirable and attractive. Like I have so much respect for people who can do that. Like my friends who camp regularly and are capable campers, I'm always like, I have so much respect for you. Like if I was on a deserted island, I would pick you. Because I feel like you would help us survive, whereas I might be a hindrance, but whatever. I am a little bit more high maintenance. Whoops. Gonna circle back to what we'll talk about originally, which is just like home and common things. I also want to know if this is a shared experience because I realized, so we've been visiting homes of like friends and stuff like that who've just moved into new houses, and it's like the general thing where like they give you house tours, really cool. But I realized like I get really uncomfortable stepping into people's rooms, like their personal space. And I'm like, oh, I feel like I'm not allowed to be in here. Like I was house sitting a friend's house a couple of months ago, and I remember like I would just like go in and check in, and you know, I always do like a sweep of the house to make everything's in order, make sure the pets haven't had accidents anywhere. But then whenever I got to the main bedroom, I would like hesitate and like not want to step in. And I don't know if that's a me thing or a shared thing where I'm like, oh, it feels rude, wrong, not okay to step into someone's personal space.
Yeah, it's like a privacy thing. A house is someone's sanctuary and where they're most comfortable. So for you as an outsider to be in their private space, that's probably where you're getting that vibe or that feeling of not wanting to, you know, potentially, you know, breach that sort of privacy thing. It's like when people, you know, when places get broken into and robbed, like, you know, yes, obviously it's bad when they take your stuff, but I think the worst thing is really around that someone has invaded your privacy and been in your space that you haven't invited into and taken your stuff and gone through your stuff or something like that. So it's almost the same concept. Obviously, if people are inviting you into their bedroom, which I don't think is going to happen, but like as a house tour, for example, then that's fine.
Oh, even that, but that's what I mean. I get this like feeling, I'm like, oh, it feels taboo. Like, do you remember growing up visiting like your cousins and stuff like that? And you don't even know what your like aunties and uncles' bedroom looks like because it's just like, oh, that's the room I don't go into ever.
Yeah, you always sort of stay in like the living kitchen sort of dining room area. Yeah, like I said, it's a very private, like where you sleep is probably the most private space of yours because that's where whoever is in that room is the most comfortable and, you know, other probably activities that get taken place in the bedroom.
You're probably the most vulnerable in your room, I guess, because you feel like let everything down, like all your shields down and stuff like that. So I kind of get it.
Yeah.
But funnily enough, the complete opposite to that is when you are younger, it's the place that you hang out because that's the only space that's your own, especially when you're living, if you have a family and you get to live at home with them, then like if you're privileged enough to have your own room, it's funny that your room is your space because you don't have a house for yourself. And then it ends up being the place that like whenever your friends come over or people that you like come over, like you just hang out in your room. Like I find that really funny.
Well, that's like almost like a bit of a, it's like invitation only sort of thing. You know, you invite people to your room because you feel comfortable around them enough to let them into your private space. It's almost like a privilege in a way.
I feel like it's changed though. Like, so the same, I've been privileged to have friends who I've known since like very young versus into adulthood, which means that they were friends with me when I still lived at home with a family where the only space that I had was my room. And they would come over and we would like hang out in my room. And they could just come over anytime and walk into my room without knocking or anything like that. And it was fine and everyone felt comfortable. But I'm still friends with the same people. And it's like now, like I would be weirded out if they just like walked into my room now that I have my own home rather than just a room. Like I think it shifts.
Yeah. I think so too. It's well, it's different when that situation, it's like that's the only space you have. I guess as a kid, maybe you'll have like less care factor around like, you know, privacy. I don't know, because, you know, technically like your parents probably come in all the time and tell you to clean up your room. And sometimes your parents probably come in your room and clean and, you know, your clothes or put them up for you. So then maybe you're used to that. Whereas once you're an adult and you, particularly when you live by yourself, like you don't have people like walking in and you're pretty much the, you know, it's the castle or whatever, then you get used to and accustomed to that level. You know, everything was your space. So probably then it's a little bit more like icky when people do come into like your room for some reason. I always find it like, I don't really like when people also use like the bathroom, like my bathroom, like so like an ensuite, for instance. So like if I was ever to like live in a like the smallest place I would be willing to live in would have to have at least 2 bathrooms. One is just like my personal one that I use, and then one that, you know, people when they come over, you know, need to obviously use the toilet stuff can use. There's always that separation. I think that is like so important for me. I think the bathroom is more important than the bedroom for me, and having that bathroom untouched by people and not used.
You're funny about bathrooms in general, though. Like you don't like public.
Yeah.
You avoid public bathrooms at all costs.
Yeah. No, it's a bit of a pain when it's traveling as well, because I don't really like using bathrooms that aren't mine. I think at hotels is like I kind of accept it because at least I know that's being like cleaned regularly. I don't really have a choice. But then, yeah, particularly like if I'm going out, like I would never like use a bathroom that isn't my personal one to another example. Number one, I'm like, yeah, I'm willing to sort of do that. But yeah, and I get really like grossed out from like obviously dirty bathrooms, but bathrooms that just look old. Like things that look old might be very clean, but they just still give off like dirty. So like if you go to an old house, you know, like, but it's obviously, it could be very clean, but then I still get like the gross feeling. Like this is like not my vibe. Yeah, so yeah, bathrooms are like a big thing. So I really enjoy like, so if I had to go to the bathroom, like toilet, publicly outside, like, when we're traveling, I would like go to like one of those like really high end department stores because they generally have really nice bathrooms and then use that. But I remember like having to my business, some very older style shopping centers get like down. Like this is like a nightmare. My biggest nightmare is having to.
It's okay. Everyone has their quirks. I don't really. I've just accepted it, but I do have like a ick feeling every time. I don't like using other people's cutlery. Like that's a funny thing. So I always wipe it before I use it when I'm at restaurants and stuff like that. Like that's a big thing for me. Like even if it's so clean, like I have a tendency to try to wipe it before I use it. So that's just a habit I picked up.
Yeah, even like I'm like starting to get to a stage where I find like overly tarnished utensils start to gross me out because I'm like, clearly it's been used like a million times, hence why it's so scratched up. But obviously, you know, I'm not going to Well, I'm not at the point yet where I'm going to carry my own sort of fork and knife and spoon yet. But
A lot of people do
I
though these
might,
days.
because
Not for that reason.
sometimes I get, and sometimes it's even at like fine dining restaurants and stuff. I find like, my advice is like, if it's overly tarnished, just replace it. It's not a good look for your restaurant to like have that, particularly as a fine dining restaurant where you're paying a lot of money. Like your cutlery, you either like need to repolish it so it looks, not like it's been used like a million times, or just replace it. Yeah.
I used to work in hospitality. I learned the trick to make cutlery look shiny. So every time, so we would run everything through the industrial dishwasher. So everything's definitely clean. But then we would always chuck all the cutlery. We would have a bucket. We poured boiling water in it, a dash of vinegar, white vinegar, and then chuck the cutlery in there. And then it soaks. And then we get like a clean tea towel and we like dry it off. And then that always left it really nice, clean, like extra clean and extra shiny.
Yeah, and it's at least even the facade of it looking relatively new.
It makes a difference.
Because
now I notice that restaurants that don't do that, like their cutlery doesn't have to shine and has the smudge, even if they run it through the dishwasher. I'm like, ew, gross.
Yeah. It's like you said, it's probably very clean. It's run through an industrial cleaner that's probably like 1,000 degrees. So it kills all the bacteria, gets all the food or whatever off. But it's just the appearance, and it just gives me the ick. That's why I really like Japanese restaurants, because it's always like disposable, like chopsticks and cutlery. So he kind of like, I'm definitely the first person that's used.
Yeah.
I think I used to do this thing at certain restaurants where, I can't remember what it was exactly, but I think like this restaurant reused like, to display certain foods, I would use like the shell of, this is right, crab. So like a crab dish or something. And I think they reuse like the crab shell to put like the food, like the meat in and stuff. And it was like reused. I think someone told me it was reused. And so I think like every time I ordered that dish, I would like deliberately like make the shell unusable. Like I would break like snap it in half or something, just so then I'll be like, so then they have to replace it. Because I'm like, the idea of like reusing like a animal shell or carcass, even if it's just for display, to put the food into display, it's gross.
You realize that's kind of an asshole thing to do, right?
Yeah, but I've also seen some restaurants where they buy like an enamel glass replica of the shell, like if it's a scallop shell or a snail shell, and then they put the food in. That's fine, because that's like made to be reused and rewashed, because it's almost like, what is it, dishware? But to use like a crab shell over and over and over again, which is something that was like a living thing, that's probably got some probably like a level up. I'm sure it's.
But you destroy one dish, is it going to change how the restaurant serves their dishes?
I feel like that's my contribution. So then, whoever, it means that they have to replace it. And some customer at some point will get brand new crab shell or whatever to eat from.
Right.
This restaurant's now closed down. So, and probably maybe because of the bloody shell.
Okay, sure.
I should have left a review. You need to replace it. But I only knew that because I think someone told me that place, and that grossed me out.
Yeah. The more you know. I mean, it's a restaurant. They have so many. The only reassuring thing I have about eating out in established restaurants is I know that there are such high levels of food safety and regulations. That means that things are done properly. And oh my God, people lose their heads when they see stuff online that they think is like a breach. Like if someone doesn't wear gloves, they're like, oh my God, you're breaching, like blah, blah, blah. But it's quite funny because the restaurant probably still follows those protocols. It just means that they have clean hands. But I just mean like everyone follows it most of the time, because the restaurants that don't tend to close down anyways. So I find comfort in that the standard's so high.
Yeah. Maybe you should watch, maybe don't watch like Kitchen Nightmares games. That's like like a lot of restaurants aren't following procedures with food storage.
I tend to go to restaurants that are a little bit more established though, to be fair.
Sometimes like there's this great restaurants that are like your sort of cart based rolling a little hot dog stand around, or
oh yeah, they might not have the
food.
same. There's a charm to those, and you kind of know. Like I don't know. There's just like there's certain things that you just accept. It's like when you're overseas, they don't have the same regulations, but when you eat on the streets and stuff like that, you just accept it because you know what it's like.
You just have to be very picky. Like the food that you're eating on those will be like deep fried, not fresh stuff. Like I wouldn't be ordering sashimi from one of those, well, actually I probably have done that in Japan at like the fish markets. Although I guess fish market's different. But like I would avoid any food that is not like fully cooked. So a lot of those like night markets, like it's always gravitating towards like stuff that's like completely cooked, deep fried. Because then if there was bacteria or any sort of unsanitizers, it would have been like
the heat kills it.
Yeah, it would have been all sort of offset from being cooked in high temperatures. Yeah. Although like I saying that like have eaten a lot of, I guess like fish markets are different. Because you're like, well,
it's fresh, and then they do clean it before they serve it.
Yeah, this is in Japan though.
They're known to be more clean.
I feel like there's a little bit more quality of standard. The nature of Japanese people. But I don't know in other countries whether there's got that same level.
Yeah.
Of discipline, quality.
Yeah.
And
okay.
Food poisoning is just the worst of the holiday. You've had it. I've had a mild case of it, and it's just like even navigating in like pharmacies and stuff. Like
it's hard.
Because I remember when we went to Japan, I think we might have done a podcast in Japan. But I remember the first day I got that, I was super sick. Pretty much used all our like sort of medicine that we had. Always bring like a lot of medicine. I kind of went through that. And I remember just like trying to find like cough drops, and I'm like, so which one is good? And then we you do the Google Translate on stuff, but you're like, okay, could be for is it because with like throat stuff, it's like, oh, is it a dry cough, wet cough stuff, and then you have to figure that. But literally, I think we use like the pictures. I'm like, there's a little picture of a man and his throat sore, and then a cough drops. So I'm like, this must be it. Yeah. So not great being sick. It's obviously just being sick, but then also just being able to try to find the right stuff to take. And then obviously like, traveling back as well.
Language barrier,
but then also like imagine being on a plane sick. Especially when you've got like blocked sinuses and stuff. It's the worst being on a plane because then you essentially become deaf because your sinuses are blocked, so they can't actually clear. You don't pop essentially when you reach the high altitude, so you end up being like deaf. So I remember that happened to me once. I literally came home deaf. I could not hear anything. It was not great.
Oh.
So yeah, very avoid food poisoning at all costs.
That might be your gratitude of the week or moment if you'd like.
Well, it's funny. We talk about that at the same time eating like food that was probably that's unidentifiable in the freezer and not sure when it was put in there. So I'm sort of
it's all coming back.
I'm just flipping both sides. So I'm looking. I don't know what the saying is, but
you're contradicting yourself.
Exactly.
We're hypocrites. Life. Let's wrap things up with our desserts. So desserts are our gratitude of the week. It's an intentional moment that we like to take to appreciate the sweet moments in our life, whether it be something recent, something in general, whatever it is. You want to go first?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Well, actually, you go first because I'm trying to think.
For those who don't know, sometimes when females reach a certain age and they go through puberty, they get their period, and I like to call it Shark Week. I get really bad cramps during Shark Week, like really can't do anything, need to stay in bed type cramps sometimes, not every time. So I'm grateful for not having cramps, which keeps me able right now. I am so thankful for the absence of cramps.
Okay, what's one that I can't really talk to as a male? What am I grateful for? I'm grateful for pajamas, actually. So I'm actually wearing pajamas because it's just a bit later and I'm just cannot be bothered. So I actually really appreciate how comfy pajamas are because I normally wear jeans all the time in these podcasts. I mean, jeans are fun to wear, but, not pajama that comfy. So I'm grateful for not just pajamas, but like homeware. Like homeware?
Loungewear?
Loungewear. Just like nice, comfy, wear. And some of the stuff looks really nice. I don't know about this, but, it's just like stuff. Actually, I think Uniqlo do a lot of like loungewear that looks like more smart. Like they have like trackies that look like jeans, but it's actually just trackie material. So yes, appreciate loungewear and sort of the popularization of them into sort of, becoming outer wear, outside wear. Yeah.
I think one of my favorite fashion trends. I don't know what the right phrasing is. One of my favorite things that has happened that has become fashionable are two things, and they all relate to the fact that it is now comfortable apparel and footwear is in fashion. So I was like literally talking to this with a friend the other day, might say my age, but when I went clubbing back in the days when I was younger, you couldn't get into clubs if you're a girl and you're wearing sneakers. You had to like wear heels or really cute flats at a bare minimum. But these days, sneakers are trendy and it's normal to go out in sneakers as one thing. Like I love that.
Yeah.
And then I also love that activewear is also fashion now. So like there's a lot of people who go out in activewear and it's totally appropriate and stylish and cool and it's comfortable. And I love that that's like a thing now.
I personally don't think it's a thing. I think it's fine to go out if you've just come from the gym and you want to go out to brunch or lunch and for some reason just didn't have time. But I wouldn't like put on activewear to go out to do daily errands unless I'm planning on going to the gym right after or right before. But to everyone has to do what they want. But yeah, that's the only time I find activewear to be acceptable. Have to have gone to the gym, or planning on going in vicinity of whatever you're about to do.
Okay. Oh, it's a fashion. People wear it just for fun now.
Yeah.
I have people who wear it to work. Like now that workwear is like more casual and turned down. I've seen people wear it to work and it's like totally fine. Like no one blinks an eye. I know some people have an opinion about it, but like majority of people are like, oh yeah, it's a trend. You can get such nice activewear now. Like that's the thing. With the fact that it's like fashionable now, there's also a lot of like styles and range that you can pick from. So some activewear is actually probably more skewed fashion as well, I would say.
Yeah.
All right. Last thing, meal prep. Meal preps are our goals, either goals or things we're looking forward to. The conversation earlier has inspired me. Once upon a time, I did actually try to organize my pantries and stuff with like proper crates and boxes and stuff to like keep everything in check. But it's gotten to a point where I just like throw everything in said box instead of stacking it nicely. Something I think I'm going to set a goal for myself to reorganize it so that it's restacked in a more orderly fashion and something that's sustainable. So that I keep up with that. Because at the moment, I do have certain cupboards where I think I just throw stuff in there and then it gets lost in the back. So I would like to fix that up. But you?
I am. What am I looking forward to? I'm actually looking forward to. I might have said this already about like looking forward to colder weather. Because I'm kind of sick of the sort of random spurs of high 20, 30-degree days we've been having. So I'm going to use it again.
That's fine. You're allowed to. You're also allowed to be grateful for the same things as well.
I know. I did give you slack about being grateful for like technology advances because that just covers absolutely everything in life. I'll stick to that. I'm looking forward to colder weather and climate because it just feels nicer, especially when you're like in bed and sleeping and you're sort of nice and toasty and it's a bit cold outside versus a bloody stinky hot night where you're just like sweating and you feel sticky and you can't even like get into a deep sleep because it's just too suffocating because of the heat. So yes, looking forward to sweater weather.
Woo! All right, that's it. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in, for listening, watching wherever you are in the world. We appreciate you and we thank you and we'll see you next time. Bye.
See ya. Bye.